So advertisers have been involved in video games for a couple decades now, but not really at scale. And that's the big opportunity for video games publishers and advertisers to work together, is to really bring a scalable model to what is probably the last great medium that has not really adopted a more modern business model type that includes advertising. So games are maybe the largest media format worldwide right now. Certainly rivals television and movies, larger than music. And on a global basis, in a lot of countries, that's all people are doing is playing games. They don't have as much access to things like TV. Uh, Gaming is across multiple platforms, so it's a little confusing. There's mobile gaming, which is happening on handheld devices. There's PC gaming, and then there's console gaming. And the market that we are looking at Simulmedia as a huge opportunity for brands and for publishers is really around that console and PC gaming audience, which is known as the HD or high definition gaming audience.
So tell us about the ad units, and it's not like a 30-second spot exactly. What kind of ad units work, and where would the future be?
Right. Well, gaming is an interactive medium. So when people are gaming, their two hands are typically on their controller. They're 100% focused on the screen that's in front of them. They're interacting with the content. Every move that they make has an impact on the actual gameplay. So unlike other linear media types that are passive, where you're sitting back and watching or listening, you might be multitasking in those media environments. But in gaming, gamers are 100% involved in the experience. So the advertising approach has to be much more nuanced and sensitive to that higher level of engagement. The second thing is that games are largely a paid medium, where people are historically buying the game up front or buying the digital download of the game. Although a big change has happened in mobile gaming and is now making its way into the HD console gaming space, which is this notion of free-to-play gaming, where users get access to the game completely for free. There is no upfront cost, and you can play the game unlimited amount of time for free. But if you want to get access to some of the additional content, the upgrades, the vanity items, the virtual currencies that help you progress faster or better in the game, often you have to spend money as a player. And so we think the big opportunity and an area for brands to participate is building a scalable model around helping unlock all that valuable added content for free in return for engaging with a 15 or 30-second ad. This model is actually quite successful in mobile gaming today. It's roughly a $5 to $10 billion, depends on whose research you read, a year advertising business already in mobile gaming, but it's relatively zero in console and HD, which is in some ways much more interesting for advertisers, since the games are being played out on big screens, television sets and PCs across living rooms, dens, bedrooms, basements, all over the world.
So Dave, tell us a little bit about what kind of advertisers, what categories you expect will come to gaming, and also could you just explain a little bit more about the inventory that's available, the opportunity for buyers, the marketplace, and Simulmedia's role?
Sure. So Simulmedia runs a very successful automated TV buying platform. They've got 115 plus media networks, TV networks on their platform. They've got a couple hundred advertisers that are coming in and buying advertising in an automated fashion, buying an audience-based buy across all of those TV networks. So it's an interesting proposition to think, how do we turn that on against the gaming audience? And that's where Simulmedia has some unique attributes that are going to help this really scale nicely. The difference with gaming in terms of an advertising medium is that it has to be permission-based. If you were to insert an ad into a video game that was interruptive and the player didn't expect it, by and large, you would expect some pretty big backlash from the playing audience. And so the idea here, and it's something that I've tested for years at Electronic Arts in previous games, and we've actually rolled out now in some partnerships, is the idea of letting users under their complete control opt in to choose to watch a 15 or 30-second TV style ad. So we're talking brand advertisers, the kind of brands you would see when you're watching Nickelodeon or ESPN or Turner, showing up in a video game, but only, and this is the key point, only when the player decides, hey, I want to have a chance to get some free content in return for lending 15 or 30 seconds of my time. So that proposition itself is highly unique. We call it opt-in reward advertising. It's a model that works pretty well in mobile games today. And frankly, mobile advertising is just not as mature or not as high quality as a type of brands you can get through TV advertising. So we think when we bring this to the console HD space, it's going to be a much better ad experience for players than they currently get in mobile gaming.
And the appeal to the publishers, the game publishers, what's in it for them?
So game publishers today are increasingly making their games free to play, or have areas in their games, even if they were paid games, that are free to play. So the majority of the activity that's happening in gameplay today is called live service gaming. And in a live service gaming environment, think of a game like Fortnite, which has had over 350 million players have downloaded that game. That game is completely free. The only way that Fortnite makes money today is to have players come in and buy the virtual currency called V-Bucks, or to buy vanity items or season passes. So it's a microtransaction economy. Now they've got enough scale with 350 million downloads over the game's lifetime, they can make a pretty healthy amount of revenue just from that percent, a relatively small percent, usually a single-digit percent of the players spending money in the game. But the other, let's call it 90+% of the players aren't spending any money and therefore aren't necessarily getting access to all that content. So we've run surveys at Simulmedia across gaming audiences on Reddit, and we found that over 75% of all console gamers in free-to-play games and paid games would like the opportunity to be able to watch an ad to get additional content that they otherwise would have to pay money for.
Tell us about some of the preliminary work you're doing, some of the work with on the UFC game and some brands that are involved, and what's going on.
Sure, we're currently live testing campaigns in UFC 3, which is a sports game from Electronic Arts. And we've got a number of campaigns running in the game right now. And the basic proposition for a player is they can choose to engage with an ad in the menu of the game and are then offered, upon completion of that ad, virtual currency. So the players love it. They're getting something for free that they otherwise might have had to spend money on. And the type of advertisers that would like to reach that young male gamer who's playing UFC include brands like Dollar Shave Club, Experian, and then several campaigns from Turner now running in the game as well. So we've got a number of campaigns, typical type of ads that you would see on television running inside of the UFC 3 video game. Players love it, they're getting free stuff, and the advertisers are now reaching an audience that frankly you can't reach on other formats because they're not watching TV, they're playing video games.